Hello guys, today I will show you how to work with useApi composable. This is the last part of custom queries series, so grab a cup of coffee, sit down, relax and let's get started. For the purpose of this tutorial, I created a simple page component. I imported the define component function because I'm going to use TypeScript in my template, and also the basic Storefront UI list component. Nothing fancy, but just enough to explain the idea of the useApi composable. I'm going to render the list of countries fetched from the Magento on this page. I begin by finding out what the country's query schema is. To do that, I will use the alter GraphQL client. As an endpoint URL, I simply use the URL of my Magento 2 instance. Now let's find the query. And there it is. With such a GraphQL client, I can easily find out what the data schema is for any available query and immediately import it as a ready-to-use query. There are a few fields and I think that I will use all of them now. In a real project though, you should optimize the query by removing all redundant data, but for me it is just okay. Let's execute the query and double check the response. Okay, so I will leave it open for later, and now let's go back to our IDE. Now, the first step is to create a variable with the query. All we need is the query string. Do not wrap it with the GraphQL tag. This is not necessary and will yield an error later. Copy the query we found previously and use it to initialize the value of country's query variable. Now I'm going to import the useAsync hook from the composition API. I will use it to fetch data and create a reactive variable. In the setup function, I'm going to create a countries variable whose value will be the result of the useAsync function. And now I'm going to make an asynchronous API call, so the callback function should be asynchronous as well. Inside the callback, I'm going to use the useApi composable, which I will import from the composable directory. The query method is generic and therefore I can configure the data type it returns. The data type I'm interested in can be found in the schema in the modules GraphQL types file. The schema is auto-generated based on the API schema exposed by the Magento, and as a rule of thumb, you should use it instead of creating your own types whenever it is possible. So let's use it now. And let's pass the country's query as the query method argument. Oh, there's a small mistake here. Let's replace the fake result with the actual list of fetched countries. And as the final step, I'm going to return the country variable from the setup function to be able to use it in the template. At this point, make sure that your app is up and running in the dev mode. So now let's move to the template. Here I created a basic list that will render fetched countries' names and codes. All I need to do is replace an empty array with the actual array of countries. This part is responsible for rendering countries' data. And let's switch back to the browser and open Vue Storefront app. My page is available at the useApi URL. As you can see, there is a page, and below the header there is a list of countries. It does not look astonishing, but that's not the point here. This is how you can use the API composable to create completely custom requests. I think that I can improve the code a little bit though, so let's go back to the IDE. In general, keeping queries inside of the template file is a very bad approach that will not scale up when it comes to maintenance or understanding the application. That is why I'm going to move it into a separate file and import it into the template. To do that, let's create a new directory named queries. This might not be the best name or location to keep the query, but it is a clear step forward to splitting the code into smaller, more manageable pieces. Inside the directory, I'm going to create a file and copy the query into it. And of course, I must export the query as a module. Now in the template, I can simply import the module, and it's done. Definitely, we can do better than what we have right now. In fact, it's never a good idea to put the business logic into the template. It's always better to split the code based on the responsibility. And the great thing about composables or hooks in general is that they can be composed into higher level functions. So to take our code to the next level, I'm going to create a new composable based on the useApi. I'll call it useCountries. Once I export the module, I copy the logic and paste it in here. And then return the result. By doing this, we'll be able to export the composable along with the rest of our composables. And once it is done, I import it into our template. Our solution will be much cleaner and each piece of code will have a well-defined role and meaning. And that's it. Now let me show you where to find the useApi composable so that we can take a short journey through the code. In the composable directory, there is a useApi directory with an index file inside. If you have any doubts about how this composable works, just simply go through the doc blog to find some use cases example. At the first glance, you can immediately see that the composable exposes query and mutate method. And that is all you might need to work with the GraphQL API. Thank you for watching. Smash like and subscribe button if you can wait for more. See you soon.